And welcome back to Hannity as we are broadcasting tonight from our nation's capital. And here is part 2 of my interview with White House Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus. Take a look. So I know that a lot of people that I've talked to that are conservative, that voted for the president, the main thing that they're looking for, and we've seen a lot of action in the first 5 days here, but the thing that I hear the most is they just want the promises made to be kept. Originalist. They want the vetting of refugees we were talking about, the building of the wall, repealing, replacing Obamacare, the lower tax rates. How do you get rid of Obamacare? Because it's a little more complicated because of how it was passed. And what will the replacement be?
Well, certain parts of it can be repealed by executive order. We also have, you know, I can't put a percentage on it, but a lot of Obamacare can be undone through executive order. That's number one. A lot of it can be done through an action called reconciliation. Now,
which is how it was passed.
Which is how it was passed. Well, right, but they also, remember, they also had 60 votes in the Senate at the time. Remember, it was like Christmas Eve or something like that. So they also had the 60 votes. Now, they lost that.
Right.
But reconciliation is a tool you can use as long as what you're doing is revenue neutral, isn't policy driven. You can pass certain things with 50 votes in the Senate. Usually you need 60. But with a special tool, you can use 50 votes in the Senate.
If it's spending related.
That's right. So you can replace a lot of Obamacare with the 50-vote rule. You can also use your Secretary of Health and Human Services strategically to do things in regard to Obamacare.
Because there's discretion that is written within the bill.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so,
by the way, a lot of people don't know that. That's a big deal.
Right. Between executive order, 51 votes of reconciliation, Health and Human Services, you can get a lot repealed and replaced. And
so maybe it won't even be a congressional debate over a new bill?
Well, I think you'd also then move to that area where you're going to need the 60 votes in the Senate. And so that's I think, the formula. The key is you want to get a much better product using the first 3 steps. You want to make sure that you've got a better product using the first 3 steps, and we do. And so, look, Obamacare is a disaster. We know that. Everybody does. It's one of the reasons why President Trump won the election. Besides what he brought to the table, it was also a great issue for him in talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare with a better product.
Last question. I know a lot of time and attention is being spent to get the economy up and running and building the administration out. Not a small undertaking. But also there's been some movement on some foreign policy issues. I know you have the Prime Minister of Great Britain coming in Friday. I know the President has meetings upcoming with the Prime Minister of Canada, the Prime Minister of Israel, the President of Mexico, renegotiating trade deals, NAFTA, a bilateral deal perhaps with Great Britain. What about radical Islamic terrorism, which he mentioned in the in his inaugural speech?
Well, first of all, I mean, that's a big question. On trade, obviously we're talking very soon with Senator Hatch and Representative Brady and the Ways and Means, getting notice into those committee members so that we can start the process of working on trade deals. So not to bore the listeners with fast track on trade, there's certain little triggers and tripwires that you have to hit in order to do that. And we're going to do all that, and we've got to wait the 90-day period.
They will all be renegotiated.
That's right, and we've got to wait the 90-day period and do it, but you've got to notify all the particular people that get to do it. But certainly...
One question on that.
Yeah.
With TPP, would that mean bilateral negotiations with Asian countries?
That's right. So you would set up, you'd have to notify Congress on each of your bilateral deals that you're going to start negotiating with. And once you hit that button, you have a 90-day waiting period, and then there's serious negotiations could occur after that. Little things here and there, conversations about cars, and it's fine. But serious negotiation can't happen until after the 90-day period. We're going to have a time of national security coming up on Friday. I expect a series of executive orders to start tackling issues in regard to foreign policy, issues in regard to ISIS, and our positioning now through the world, especially through the Middle East.
The big message was sent in the inaugural speech.
You bet.
We had a president that wouldn't say radical Islamic terrorism, and this president will. You liking the job so far? How many hours are you working a day?
Probably about 20.
Kind of like during the last 2 years anyway,
Yeah, right. Well,
No difference?
Hey, going through a 16-way primary.
No. No pressure involved in the primary, no conflict, right?
Right. A lot of those same skills learned through that process are helpful here, but most importantly, it's an honor working for President Trump. Seriously, this is a person, not for a heart of gold, genuine, sincere, still working 10 feet away from us. I mean, of course, he's, and when this airs tonight at 10 o'clock,
he's working.
He'll be there, still working dinner. He doesn't stop. I'm not to say, everyone always likes to say that about people, they don't stop. He doesn't.
Well,
I never stop. I wear out 25-year-olds on my staff.
Well, I've known him for a lot of years.
He wears out everybody.
The times I would talk to him is 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., or 5 a.m.
Right. There's nothing unusual about getting a phone call at 11:30 and then 6:15.
Oh, I get him at 1. Maybe he calls you first because he knows you go to bed earlier.
No, actually I don't, but
I didn't get many phone calls either.
I'm lucky that I have the same kind of clock that he does.
Good.
But here's the difference. I'm used to outworking people. So my clock, I can defeat anyone when it comes to work, but not him. So that's a challenge.
So you don't want
I've met my match.
You don't like to lose. Oh, all right. So now we have a chief of staff and a president that
as far
wants
as
to
like
win.
working, I mean, the guy doesn't stop.
Well, if everyone's working for the country, I think everyone would be better off.
I've always had an advantage on hard work, but he works really, really hard.